Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And a lot of weird shit. Roll to seize!
Welcome to Roll to Seize. This is episode 23. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and Warhammer enthusiast, Andrew Dickinger.
Oh no, unlucky 23.
Oh no. We prepared for this day, though. I mean, we have all of the essential oils and the books and the tomes.
You're not touching me with oils, Jay.
What? We agreed. I already drenched myself in these oils, and it is disgusting. I mean, look at this.
I mean, I think you've done it enough for both of us.
What?
Then.
No. I'm not doing the ritual by myself. I need another person, because what if it goes really wrong, and then we both die, right? This was our suicide pact. I thought we agreed upon this.
No.
Shit. Okay, well,
I think you're talking to the dust clock again.
It's a ghost dust clock now, okay? It's gone, Andrew. God. All right, you know what? I'll just wipe some of this off of me, and I'll wait to do the ritual after the podcast. At least this can be maybe my last will and testament out there in the world.
No one cares.
Yeah, it's so sad. Was it so true? Anyways, guys, before I light myself on fire to prevent the darkness that swirls upon episodes that are marked with 23, let's talk about Warhammer.
Games Workshop is, I guess, getting back in the game.
Getting back in the game. It's been going on for a couple weeks now, but it's still crazy to think about that they are back.
Well, they have new management.
They do.
They are under new leadership, and it's very clear that they are reverting back to a direction from a long lost age.
I mean, they are going all out. Somebody came in there, the new CEO, and was just like, wait a second. So we have this property, this universe that everybody loves, and still loves, even though we don't service the community. We don't support anything to do with our product other than release it at very high prices. And people still buy this product? Guys, we got to make a lot of shit and make it a lot better.
It's like, I got this idea. We should do things with
our
it?
company? They're like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
There's like been a bombardment of video games.
Oh my god,
even
so
more
many
coming
video
out.
Games.
It's just like
every week I feel like a new video game. I was like, who's making all of these video games?
Yeah, I mean, and two that I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
I mean, Dawn of War 3, that trailer, I must have watched it like 50 times.
Yeah. Also, what was it, Death Watch?
Okay, so there are multiple Death Watch games.
Oh yeah, there are. You're right.
There are multiple Death Watch
games. They are doubling
games.
down on Death Watch.
But the newest trailer that they released was almost like, I want to say, a mix of FPS and MechWarrior.
Yeah.
So if your left arm gets damaged, you can't use it anymore, which is awesome.
Which is so cool.
On the personal level, fighting against Gene Stealers and Gene Stealer cultists, it sounds so cool.
It does. We're both very excited about all the new content that's coming out from Warhammer.
But yeah, and then they're also stepping back into the tournament scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're actually also addressing the rules, which they admittedly now agree that are broken.
Yeah, they do. They finally come out and we're like, okay, we really got to clarify a lot of these rules because these have gotten out of hand.
I know. I mean, what makes it even better is that they've put it into the hands or partial hands of the fans.
Releasing the FAQ instead of back in the day where it'd be like, there's an FAQ online, go to Games Workshop
and it'd be like,
look at the FAQ.
Half the stuff's not addressed.
Yeah, but now they're releasing them on Facebook. They're actively engaging in the social environment and asking the community what they want. What do they think makes sense? What do they think could be a little bit clearer? That's amazing. We've never had that from Games Workshop before.
Community support.
Holy crap, it's crazy
how
good.
It changes the name of the game. And as far as what they've shown so far, it is just a draft. But as far as what they've shown so far, I mean, I don't think Jay and I have had any problems.
I'm pretty happy with everything they've done. I know there's some pushback. I know probably the only one that I think needs a little bit more clarity is probably the terrain one that seems a little weird, where it's like you can't go through walls anymore.
Yeah, that one was a little odd. I almost wonder if that was a stem against things like warp spiders or crisis suits being able to jump in and out of walls.
Right, that might be, which I'm very interested to see how they address that. And again, Andrew and I, as we've said on this podcast before, we play via the rules of ITC, which is run by Frontline Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, sure, there are some things that, as much as we're waiting on the FAQ to come through from Games Workshop, we're then also going to wait on the FAQ of the FAQ from ITC, because I'm sure there's going to be some rules that they want to tweak and probably keep.
Now, the grenade thing, if you don't know what it is that they're saying that you can only use one of any type of grenade in any phase, which would mean that if your entire unit is armed with melta-bombs, only one guy can use it.
Which is frustrating a lot of people.
It's a mixed bag. I, as a Tyrannid player...
You love it.
I like it because it means that my basic guys who don't have access to readily available Feel No Pain or invul saves or any of this stuff don't fear 6 Space Marines armed with crack grenades at all times.
That's true.
Because that was really frustrating.
Of course. They're basically take all comers.
Yeah. Why do they have a strength 6 weapon in close combat on just the average guy? And now, from a pure fluff standpoint, it totally makes sense. But from a game standpoint, when the max toughness guy I have is 6, and it's just
I think a lot of that comes from, I think Tyranids is a little bit slow to get the pickup on a codex update. I think once they get a codex update, that's all going to be balanced out, because to be fair, monstrous creatures now, that are still in the new meta, are pretty well protected, because maybe they're Riptide and you get a 3-up invul and you can add Feel No Pain on top of that.
Of the popular monstrous creatures, they're all very powerful.
Exactly. So now they've got buffs to kind of fight against that. I think because Tyranids have been so late to get that update, they're a little bit on the back end where they're still getting wrecked because they're only toughness 6.
And the interesting thing about them is that I expected Gene Stealer Cult to be a lot more popular than it is. It's really not popular at all.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like,
well, the board game's very popular, but I think actually using the cult in play, I haven't seen it once.
I see that, and then I'm wondering what new NIDs are gonna get.
But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of things in the FAQ that came up that were huge, and we've said that we agree with pretty much most of them. We'll see how the grenades go, because I think that's one that's really thrown a lot of people for a loop and frustrated. Probably, I think out of any of the rules, has frustrated most people, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, probably.
One thing I think we can all agree upon is, thank God they clarified Void Shield, because that was getting a little wacky.
The whole having the toe-in guy for that.
That was just so ridiculous.
It's just when you have a 20-man unit and they're extended 40 inches beyond the shield. I mean, it's just come on.
And I think that is a little bit of what we were saying, where that was definitely Games Workshop coming in and being man, we left this community for a few years and they started interpreting crazy rules out of these things. It was funny to see some of their responses on the FAQ, because some of their responses, you could see the tone of just being really? Okay. Well, the answer is this, because obviously it's this. Are you insane? That's some pretty cool news in the community, and we'll see what comes of that.
Exactly.
Now, some news for us on the Roll to Seize front. Some exciting news, guys. We got our resume accepted at what was it again? It's
it was the Inquisition or something?
The Inquisition. Yeah, we our buddies here at the Brown Library helped us out. Now, we say helped, but I think they really just wanted to get us out of here as quickly as possible.
And they pushed out pretty hard.
They put in a good word for us at the Inquisition. It's under the Dark Heresy program, is what I've heard.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
yes.
The Dark Heresy program. But yeah, we're going to be acolytes. Every month, you're going to be able to hear us at least twice a month working as acolytes for the Inquisition. We're going to bring our podcasting equipment. Now, we'll probably have to downsize it a little bit. Probably, I don't know, maybe fit it into some kind of device, maybe a servo skull.
I have heard that you can do that.
You can do that with servo skulls, right? Yeah. We'll install it in a servo skull, and we'll have it follow us around so you guys can hear what we're doing. But that's some news. So it looks like we're actually starting, I think it's July? Early July.
I believe it's the first Wednesday of July.
First Wednesday of July. Great. And as we get closer, next month will be our last month before we kick this off. Now, you'll still be getting Roll to Seize every month as usual, the last Wednesday of every month, but looks like we'll be adding a new job each month to
Now, I heard Suicide mentioned, Suicide Missions.
They said that a lot, but in the form they wrote back.
I'm pretty sure that was just hazing.
I think that's just, they're just messing with us. There's no way it's going to be as crazy as they say.
Nah.
Now, sure, nobody's ever come back from this Dark Heresy program, but I feel like we'll be fine.
I mean, of course, it's us.
And we also have one other resume out to another job we might be bringing in each month. It's somewhere in Kamarog, but we'll be getting you a little bit more information when we finally get word on that.
I hear it's a nice place.
I hear it is really nice.
I mean, it's nice and conveniently. We are in the webway. It's conveniently close.
Yeah,
it's
I feel like we'd be used to it. We'd be like, I've acclimated to this weird library, so I feel like I could acclimate to a giant sprawling city that one cannot even imagine how big it is.
I mean, I can't wait.
So guys, that's our news on the Roll to Seize front. Now rolling in at the top of each of our episodes, we always talk about our seizes of the month. And Andrew, you go first this time.
God damn it.
Now for our seizes, we talk about each month our biggest mistakes from our most recent tournament. Andrew, what is one of your biggest mistakes?
So in the last tournament, as some of our listeners already know from listening to us every month, is I've been running my Mechanicus for a while now.
Yeah.
And in this last tournament, I tried to do something a little different, and I brought myself 10 Electro Priests.
How dare you do different things?
It's not like the theme of this podcast or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But yeah, so I took 10 Corpuscari Electro Priests because I wanted to try them out. Now, stat-wise, they're interesting. They can do some really powerful stuff and get out of hand really quickly. And to make this even more so, I stuck an Inquisitor with them that had Rad and Psychotrope grenades.
Yes, Rad and Psychotrope grenades are crazy.
Which did do one hilarious thing one game against a Wraith Knight and making it Initiative 1 with only one attack. And that happened. But the problem that I found with them, and this is a universal problem with AdMech as a whole, is mobility.
Right.
What they really need is a transport of some kind, and that's been rumored that they're going to get one. But if this Battle Brothers thing with the FAQ ends up going through, then that means they can't get one from elsewhere, which means they would have to have one, or essentially they're just too flimsy to just walk across the board. That's the thing I found, is that, like, since my Warlord is there, they just get hammered and just end up being 18-point ablative wounds.
Right.
But in the final game of this tournament, I did something really stupid.
What?
I ended up going against an Eldar player. I mean, it was basically the works. Tons of scat bikes and some warp spiders.
Ouch.
And he did not have a sword and board Wraith Knight. He had a double Wraith Cannon Wraith Knight.
Whoa! I thought you were going to say the Sakatcha, the one that I can pronounce perfectly.
The
Scalaplichin.
Scalaplichin.
Wraith Knight, where he has, like, the two big flamers, the Torrent flamers.
It was not the Forge World Wraith Knight.
Okay.
He was not running a Pale Cord as far as I could tell, because he was mainly just scatterbikes, which don't need battle focus.
No.
He had just a normal Wraith Knight and everything, and I was running, I was not running a cohort, which I regret every time I don't do it.
Yeah, I know.
But
You monster.
I had some Grav guys and some robots and the Corpuscari, but my big mistake, this was a Dawn of War style deployment, and he got the turn to go first, and I knew what I was going against, and with the terrain on the table, there was like one fairly large piece of terrain on one side, and I realized that he had equal or higher range than most of his army, even though my army's pretty long range. It's just with scat bikes and everything being
36 inches and a 12-inch move.
Yeah, I mean, essentially
they're going to hit what they want to hit.
Essentially 48-inch range. It's just like, And then of course, the same way with the Wraith Knight, who has Wraith Cannons, and range D is an issue. What I did was I deployed centrally, thinking that I could weather the storm, essentially, and then pick off things as they came. But I didn't really take into the account of you could just have one set of bad rolls, and even though my army is resilient, there's just too much firepower.
I mean, that much strength 6 and strength. I mean, strength D, nothing's really truly resilient against strength D.
No.
So I mean, it's tough.
I mean, I made a mistake as well, as I didn't realize that one of the pieces of terrain I deployed in had a slit window on one side that I didn't see.
Oh, so you thought it was line of sight blocking?
Yeah, I thought some of my Grav guys in it were line of sight blocked, and they were the guys that were basically in perfect range to just move up and blast the Wraith Knight to hell. And so of course he had guys just fly up and just blast them from the side. And it was just I lost most of my Grav guys in the first volley, essentially, which was real bad.
Ouch.
And I'm running a min-max army, so it's all elite units, essentially.
Yeah, small pocket units of 3.
Unfortunately, that went badly, but that was not my C's. My C's is that I deployed really stupidly. I mentioned this big piece of terrain earlier. Now, what I should have done is I should have just put both of my objectives right next to that thing on one side of the board. Because even though it was a Dawn of War deployment, I found that with the new ITC objective rules, it's a lot easier on non-mobile armies to essentially get objectives that are achievable.
Because you can sit on them.
Yes. And so if I just put all my stuff there, then since he deployed first, half of his army essentially would have been on the wrong side of the board, and I could have just uber focused on basically half of his army, and at that point I've already won, because he'd be down a huge deficit, and he'd have to suddenly start coming to me, even though he's more mobile. Essentially, I would have set the stage for the name of the game. But
right, and then you're also removing probably at least a full round of shots from half of his army that's out of range because you've castled up in a corner.
Exactly. So So that was my C's essentially. Is if I had deployed on that side, then I would have basically not opened up his entire army to shoot at me on turn 1.
Right.
Which turned out to be a mistake.
Yeah. Makes sense. Against scats. Scat
Against
bikes.
scats. Yeah.
Too many scats.
So that's my C's. Jay, what is your C's?
My C's, this last tournament, it was really fun. I was trying a new army, and I got to include my favorite unit in Eldar that nobody else ever uses. And a couple people during that game had to be like, no, what are those things? Some people thought they were Dark Eldar, because I understand it.
They look sort of similar.
They look a little bit. They've got like spiky things on them. I was running 3 units, that's right, 3, Striking Scorpions.
In very roll to seize fashion.
Very roll to seize fashion. I had not just one, I had a bunch of them, because that's how we roll here, guys. And they're not my C's, they were great.
Apparently they were MVPs every game.
They're MVPs every game. Guys, listen, if you play Eldar, take a look at Striking Scorpions again. Just take a look at the entry. They do a lot of things that, as you were just saying, that Eldar really struggles with, which is durability and being able to kind of get to objectives and sit on objectives.
Durability and a good close combat
and
unit.
Really good close combat unit, which Eldar also really struggle with. I know there's the Wraith Knight, but honestly, like, it can only do so many things and be in so many places.
As soon as you go beyond the Wraith Knight, there's really nothing else.
Nothing else. Nobody uses Banshees. Nobody uses Banshees.
Nobody uses Banshees. Nobody uses Wraith Blades.
Yeah. No. So, guys, take a look at Striking Scorpions again, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is in my third and final game, I made a pretty big goof. I was running some Dark Reapers with my 3 Striking Scorpions in Pale Court. I was running 3 Warp Spiders units. Warp Spiders, of course, you kind of have to take them at this point. I'm not big into taking them in huge amounts, but they're kind of a really great jack of all trade. No matter what I'm facing, they can kind of pit them against something.
Well, we've compared them. They're very similar to the idea of Space Marine Grav.
Yeah, basically. You kind of need them. If you're running an Eldar armor, you kind of should have them at this point for mobility, for taking down whatever you need to fight.
Well, they are the best. They are arguably the best costed unit in the game.
Oh, amazingly so. I often find when I'm building an aspect host, I'm like, oh, if I want to fit this many more bodies, I'll just take cheap Warp Spiders? That's weird. Yeah. But anyways, so I'm running Warp Spiders, I'm running Scorpions, I'm running Dark Reapers, and as the game is going on, I'm doing pretty well, but I noticed something that I screwed up early on in the game, and it was where I placed my objectives. Now, you, Andrew, had a seize that your objective placement. I faced a similar problem in my last game, and it was because I always kind of place my objectives. I don't really think about it too much, and I'm sure some of you guys do this as well, where I'm just like, okay, well, it says to place, and we go by ITC format, so it tells you where to place the objectives. I'm like, okay, I place one in my deployment zone, I place one out there, and I just kind of place them out there just to get the game started. It's the top of the game, I want to get my guys on the table, I want to play. But I didn't think about my army is very much in your face. It's very mobile, it's very much going for my enemy, and my enemy, my last opponent, was playing an artillery army, where that means they're castling up under a void shield, everybody on their side of the table, and that's where they're going to be, and that's where I'm going to be for the majority of the game. And what I did is, he was very much on like one side of the table. I just kind of put my objectives willy-nilly. I should have put my objectives closer to where my guys were going to be, because these ended up being Eternal War objectives. This is where I was going to be scoring that primary at the end of the game, and at the end of the game, even though I had a very mobile army with Warp Spiders, I even had one unit of Swooping Hawks in there, I just was too bogged down with dealing with his side of the table, trying to get Warlord, trying to get this and that, where he, over the course of the game with he was running Renegades, he was dropping a bunch of pink horrors and a bunch of Nurglings. Just summoning them in the back end of my table edge to get Linebreaker and to get my objectives that were far away from where I was in the action. And at the end of the game, he ended up getting Eternal War, and I ended up getting the Maelstrom, but I could have tied him on the Eternal War and taken the Maelstrom and actually won the game if I'd put those objectives closer to where I could actually get to them.
Now, you also have one more part of that.
I do have one more.
And it does, in fact, involve your Scorpion.
It does involve my Scorpion. So, guys, if you got a lot of things that are deep striking or coming in from reserve, count on the board how many have come in, because you might, like myself, forgot to bring one of them into the game. I had one entire Scorpion unit sit out the entire game because I forgot that I still hadn't brought them in yet.
And what could have those Scorpions have done for your...
Well, they could have outflanked, like the other two Scorpions, and they could have outflanked at the back of my board where all these stupid pink horrors were running around grabbing objectives, and they could have crunched an entire unit of pink horrors and gotten one of those objectives and won me the game, probably, which would have been smart, but I forgot about them, and he ended up getting the primary, and I ended up getting the secondary.
Guys, keep track of your units.
Keep track of your units. It's very, very important, and think about where you're going to place your objectives. Think about how your army plays. If it's offensive, if it's in their face, put the objectives closer to where they're going to be.
Whereas if you're going against a mobile army, make sure that you have to force them to come to you.
Exactly. Think about that at the top of the game. It's, it oftentimes decides most games of where objective placement is.
Exactly, yeah.
Even if you have a mobile army, even if it's Eldar.
Once again, game unless it's kill points, the game isn't about killing the opponent. It's about who controls the objectives.
Exactly. All right, guys. So those were our Seasons of the Month, and that'll take us into the Brown Library. All right, here we are in the Brown Library.
Not being kicked out.
Not being kicked out just yet. We're finally going to be able to afford to live here. This very dangerous and terrifying place that we call home.
We convinced them to keep us on a little bit longer.
Yeah, we've got one more month before we got to start paying rent, and I think the inquisitorial business is going to work out.
I mean, I'm sure it's fine.
Dark Heresy program sounds great. It's probably not going to be punishing at all.
We're probably just going to, deliver packages or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
of course. So you've got a couple tomes in front of you. I see you've been doing some research for this month's Brown Library segment.
Yeah, no, we're going to be doing something a little different this month.
Ooh, all right. I'm in for some mystery.
I like to mix things up. Now, this is a unit that I know you and I talk about all the time.
Ooh.
And it's something that we actively love but never really see. And it's kind of sad.
Oh, man. And for people who aren't familiar, our Brown Library segment is where we usually talk about a unit, or it's voted on online on dakadaka.com, where someone puts up a request, and we talk about how to use this unit effectively in an army and make an army with it. So what is this unit that we talk about all the time?
So this unit is in Tau.
Ooh.
We haven't talked about Tau in a while.
We haven't.
And it's stealth suits.
What? I love the stealth suits.
I know. We talk about them literally all the time.
Yeah, we're always like, this political environment, what would be good about it? Stealth suits. Really help it.
Of course. So this army obviously is going to be themed about them. Let's give them a little bit of background.
Sure.
Now, so stealth suits are essentially like the secret agents of Tau.
Ooh.
They have.
Now, do they wear tuxes underneath those suits?
I mean, I would assume so.
I would hope they do.
I would hope they do.
I would love to see Tau people walking around in tuxes.
Just it just gets out of the stealth suit. It just unveils around him, and it's just a tux. Yeah. But stealth suits, so Tau obviously, even though they're young comparatively to the rest of the 40.
Young as a race.
Young as a race. They're only say technologically 6,000 years old, which
right.
is very recent. They obviously, because they have a lot less of the hang-ups of other races, they just develop technology as they go. Well, they developed this cloaking technology that they use in a lot of their suits now. In fact, there's the newer one called the Ghost Keel, which is like a super stealth suit.
Yeah.
But their technology is quite remarkable. It's remarkable in that, unlike other races, the closest equivalent to it is actually Harlequins.
So you mean holosuit for Harlequins?
Which comes from their holo technology. Vehicles have holo fields.
Yep.
And essentially how it works is, I'm sure you know, is it, instead of making things invisible, just generates a lot of false images.
Yeah, which is really cool, because you're trying to shoot these evil clown creatures. Well, not evil, but, terrifying clown creatures, and you see
murder
15...
clowns.
Yeah, murder clowns, which are not evil. But let's be clear, murder and evil, not the same thing.
Totally not evil.
Totally not evil.
Wanna keep staying here.
We love this place, guys.
But yeah, so that technology is cool, is in that it generates these false images. So that's really cool. This in fact does the opposite, where instead of using holographic projectors to create false images, it uses the same technology instead to bend light around the object. So it's the absence of light as opposed to projected light. Literally renders everything about them visible. It's like taking Predator tech and taking it even further, where there's no outline. Like, you literally can't fucking
You just
see them.
cannot see them at all.
They're completely absent unless you have some kind of advanced scanning technology, like an Imperial Auspex or something like that. You will not be able to see them coming, other than adjusting the things behind them. Now they've gone even a step further, because you think about it and they're like, well, they could still make noise, and they still have jetpacks on,
right? Which are
just
arguably pretty loud,
really loud
when you're shooting exhaust out of something.
But they've found a way to filter the projected exhaust, a silencer built into or a suppressor built into their jetpacks, that their jetpacks literally make no noise. They, in fact, absorb all sound they create.
Whoa!
So the only way that you'd really ever be able to see stealth suits or ghost keels, depending on what, is like some kind of thermal sensor just in the position of the exhaust, where the exhaust is coming out of their jetpack.
Because everything else is still cold and invisible.
Exactly. So otherwise, they are entirely unseeable.
Wow.
You would not be able to, even if they were right in front of you, they would be silence. You'd maybe hear their foot touch the ground, and then it's too late at that point.
Now that's a Predator movie I want to to see? Arnold Schwarzenegger versus a ghost kill. Yeah, he'd probably die. He'd be like, no, I can see in the regular spectrum, like your mud does not cover you. You are dead now.
Yeah. Their sensor technology may be a little bit more advanced.
A little more advanced than the than just heat vision, or variations of heat vision,
than space nomad hunter people.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've gone even further than that, which is they've taken all their weapons and they've made their weapons silenced. So, like, even their miniguns essentially won't make any noise until they start firing, and then you just see a whole bunch of bright projectiles blowing you to pieces, and then they're already gone.
Ugh.
So that's like the history behind them is that when a fire warrior reaches a certain rank, because they actually don't have long lives comparatively to...
How long do they typically live?
The average life of a Tau is usually the average life of, like, a human in our sense, like...
Where they only live up anywhere between, like, 70 to 100 years.
Exactly. Like, 100 years is old for a Tau.
Right.
So,
while everybody else in the Imperium and all the other... They all live to be, I don't know. It's all varying. You never really know of how old anybody really is.
Like, Space Marines, like, up to 300 years or something, but there are those that have lived for thousands. And then, I mean, like, you get into Eldar and Dark Eldar, and it's just ridiculous.
They live for so crazy long. I mean, Dark Eldar, like, have different bodies or do things on them to make themselves live longer. I mean, Eldrad Ulthran from Eldar, the oldest Farseer, is like 10,000 years old.
Yeah, Tau are like little babies by comparison.
Basically.
So once a Tau Fire Warrior has gone on enough campaigns and gained enough rank, they essentially are given two choices. They can either don a crisis suit. They can stay as a fire warrior, so it's three choices. They don a crisis suit, they stay as a fire warrior, and then eventually become one of their fire-based commanders, which is like their generals for the fire warriors.
Right.
Or they choose to be part of the stealth teams.
Interesting. Like, you can get this pimp ride, which is pretty nice, or some higher pay, also nice, or no one will ever see or know of you ever again.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like, are you joining the army? Are you joining the CIA? Or are you just staying with, the public, just as a cop or something?
Of course, yeah.
But the option is actually open to anyone within the fire caste, essentially. Once they reach a certain rank, it's their privilege, essentially, to get their own kick-ass fucking battle suit, which is awesome.
That's nice.
Who wouldn't do that?
I wish that happened in my regular job.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? You've made your sales quota this quarter.
We're going to give you this awesome robot suit. Thanks, guys.
So stealth suits in general are all elites in the sense that, like, they are the best of the best with regards to both reconnaissance and tactics within the Firecast community.
Awesome.
But unlike the shock troop aspect of a crisis suit, they are more in espionage in the sense of 40k war.
They're moving the pawn pieces from behind enemy lines. They're lining up strategic strikes and things like that.
They're like the best way to relate them with the Tau mantra, which is usually either Kayun, Patient Hunter, or Mondka, Killing Low. They are the goads. They are the ones that essentially harass the sides or the key units to get the prey to go where they want it to be.
Right.
And that lends in place with their technology that they basically can just sneak up on you and blast you and then get the fuck out of there and no one will ever know.
Of course.
So how does this relate into the game? Well, stealth suits are interesting. They're, in my opinion, a little too overcosted because they still have, like, not a great stat line. Now, granted, I am of the line that all Tau should be BS4 because it kind of doesn't make sense that they aren't.
Because all they do is shoot.
Since they only focused on range combat entirely, and, like, people are like, oh, well, they don't live as long as the same as like a Space Marine or something. And I was like, yeah, but that life length has nothing to do with
to be fair,
skill level.
The older you get, everybody knows this normally, the older you get, your eyesight gets better, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And hand-eye coordination.
Everything gets better when you're old.
Yeah. Of that vein, 30 points is a little bit too much, but regardless, I mean, this is Roll to Seize. We gotta make a list around these
and
guys.
also we do know the points are that high just because I believe all of their suits are made of platinum, correct?
I mean, probably.
Right. They went a little too far when they were like, you get this pimp suit and also made of platinum.
You could maybe sell it later in your early years and retire.
Like, when you're done shooting people in the darkness, in the stealthy darkness, you can sell it and buy a ship.
Now, stealth suits got a bit of a help with the recent update to Tau. They, in fact, got a formation with the new super stealth suit, the Ghost Keel, that makes them, in my opinion, not over the top strong, but definitely very powerful.
Oh, yes.
And that formation is the optimized stealth cadre.
Oh, yes. This is very optimized.
Yes, it helps them in a big way. And it also is very cool because it forces them to work in unison with their ghost kills, essentially, which you would imagine are like the highest ranking stealth.
I was going to
officers.
ask, do you think ghost kills after they stealth suit, if they do that long enough that they can upgrade to the ghost kill?
Yeah, essentially. It's the same way that a crisis suit user, essentially, if they get high enough, can either become a commander or like pilot a riptide or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I would essentially, it's the same path for these guys.
I gotta say, the incentives in the tower, great. They're like, hey, the better you do, the cooler your suit is, guys. I mean, look at this fucking suit.
Greater good, baby.
Greater good, baby.
So how did I structure this list? Well, what the optimized stealth cadre does is it forces you to take a ghost kill unit and 2 units of stealth suits. And what the benefits are is they have this thing called Wall of Mirrors. And this is why I brought up essentially Harlequins. Because they've adapted the Eldar technology of projected light and combined it with their stealth.
Sneaky blue bastards.
So what they do is this Wall of Mirrors rule, it gives them some really cool stuff. It not only gives them +1 to ballistic skill.
Ooh,
but
which they would like.
I mean, obviously that's great. But it also gives them ignores cover.
Which is awesome.
And it also allows them to shoot the rear armor of vehicles.
Which is amazing. They basically got curved bullet technology. They had got that wanted technology from that movie.
Yeah, so they're like, the bullet's going to go there. And you're like, but I'm here. And you're like, no, it's there.
No, we curve it. And their bullets are like plasma, which I don't even know how that works, but sure.
Science, Jay.
Science.
So the ghost kills have this by standard. They just always have this ability. And they say if you decide to use this ability, but it's like there's no downside to it, so you're just always going to have it on.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna use this ability. I don't know of any tanks that have more armor in the back.
I mean, I guess unless you really just want to hit the tank in the front, maybe, but...
I, again, don't know why you would. I can't think of one situation where you'd want to be like, no, I want to hit that front armor.
So the ghost kills, they always just have the ability. But if the stealth units in the formation are within 6 inches of the ghost kill, then they also get +1 to ballistic skill, ignore cover, and hit. And then, I mean, I think the formation just in general just always hits rear armor. But them being able to suddenly gain +1 ballistic skill and ignores cover is so strong.
Really, really good.
So how I structured this army, I have 2 formations of them.
Okay.
Now,
so 2 optimized stealth cadres.
2 optimized stealth cadres. Now, normally you can take a ghost kill formation in 1 to 3 guys, and they have that new nifty rule that Tau has that if you have the maxed out unit, then they all get +1 ballistic skill. And that's, if I used an optimized stealth cadre, like that's how I normally would run them, is just 1 unit of 3 ghost kills, and then 2 units of stealth suits. But this is stealth suits we're talking about here. So we got to have more stealth suits than we do ghost kills.
Yeah.
So each cadre only has 1 ghost kill.
Okay.
And then 2 maxed out units of stealth suits.
Awesome. Wait, what's their maxed out size?
They can only get 6.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of unusual, though, because they decided to change crisis suits and having crisis suits the ability to get up to 9. But they didn't really change what stealth suits can have. That may have something to do with their popularity, but...
Possibly.
But they can get some cool stuff. For one thing, they have access to a piece of war gear that almost nothing in the army can get, which is the amazing homing beacon.
Oh, yes.
And what does this do? If you deploy or if you deep strike within 6 inches of the homing beacon, no scatter.
Which is very, very nice.
With an army that has tons of reserves where literally everything can deep strike, like that can suddenly make a situation that's manageable to, oh god, they're everywhere.
There's so many crisis suits around us now.
They also have a rule that for every 3 of them, they can take 1 fusion blaster.
Which is nice.
So these 6-man
Especially
units,
for hitting rear armor.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you start hitting rear armor with strength 8 AP1 guns that ignore cover. It's
Not
just
bad.
like, well, shit.
Yeah.
And then if they're +1 ballistic skill, they have a higher chance to hit, which means that 1 shot's less of a problem. So each of these units has 2 fusion guns and 2 target locks, which, once again, even better. Now you don't have to force the burst cannons to fire at the same thing that the fusion guns are going after.
Which is amazing.
And what's cool with their synergy is that the fusion guns are the same range as the burst cannons, which means that they can essentially, when you dump them where you want them to be, they can engage all the same targets within the same spectrum,
Yeah, so you're not forcing them to get a little bit closer and then putting them into danger.
So I started relating these guys essentially to warp spiders, in that they fill a similar role to warp spiders, where they're a unit that can essentially engage any target they come across which is very nice.
Oh, yeah.
Having jack of all trades is a good thing to have because it means in essentially any scenario they could just be ready to go. These units with ignore cover, with better ballistic skill, and hitting rear armor on tanks means that it doesn't matter where their positioning is, they're always going to be in a good spot. Mm-hmm. And then these guys also have stealth enshrouded at all times, which means that in any cover, they're 2+ cover saves.
Yeah. It's an amazing ability to have both of those things.
Now, with them only being, toughness 3, you'd think, oh, that's a problem. But as Jay now knows wholeheartedly with his stealth enshrouded scorpions.
Yep, which they only have it for a short amount of time. They don't have it always.
Yeah, and then these guys have it always. If you just get a 2+ save at all that the opponent really doesn't have a good way to get rid of, like, they are surprisingly resilient.
So resilient. It is very fun to watch people blow a lot of shots into a 2+ cover save unit.
Exactly. So then, like, the ghost kills have it as well. So it's just like the entire army, basically, except for in the CAD, because I took a CAD with these 2 units of optimized stealth cadre. Mm-hmm. Except for the CAD, where you have 2 crisis suits that don't have it. Everything else in the army has stealth enshrouded, so it's just like trying to shoot at anything if you don't have ignores cover is a goddamn nightmare.
Yeah. Well, they are a bunch of predators.
They are predators.
Very difficult to hit.
Not supposed to know you're there.
Right.
So then added onto these 2 stealth cadres is a CAD where, of course, it has to be led by Shadowsun.
Of course.
The stealth commander herself.
She's the best at it.
She also has 2 fusion guns, which... Of course.
I mean, she was like, well, one's really good, so I'm just going to take 2. They're like, wait, you can do that? Yep. You know what? We'll just let you do that.
And she has a unique rule where she has like a target lock built into herself.
So she could shoot one fusion gun at one and then fusion gun at another?
Yeah.
Wow. So she's like the epitome of like a dual wielding badass in an action movie.
Exactly. And then but she has to fire one of the fusion guns at something the rest of the unit fires at, which with 2 guys that can target lock means that she can just shoot one fusion gun at where one of the fusion guns is going.
Yep.
And then another fusion gun at something else. And then the other guy with the fusion gun shoots at something else, and then all the burst cannons shoot at another thing.
Jeez.
So her attached to that unit essentially can fire 4 targets at once.
That's awesome.
The added benefit of having her in the unit is that as long as she's in a stealth unit, they get the Swarm Protector rule, which means that she has automatic lookout sir to them.
Whoa, that's great.
Yeah. So like,
so you don't have to worry about, rolling those ones when you need those lookout sirs.
Exactly.
Which happens to everybody. We're like, oh yeah, it's a 2+. This will be fine.
Happens way too often.
Yeah.
When you get those double out shots suddenly going your way and you're just dreading that one.
Oh yeah.
It's like, no.
That happens to me so often. But anyways.
But yeah, so then like, and the advantage of having her as well with that Swarm Protector rule is there are not 1, not 2, not 4, but 6 units of stealth suits in this army.
Whoa!
So there's 2 in each optimized stealth cadre, which get their bonuses, and then there's 2 in the CAD as well. Essentially, I'm treating them as sort of like a blade of wounds to her. So it's spreading the love around, essentially, where you have these 4 units kicking around with these ghost kills that are getting ignored cover and all this nonsense. Then you have her with her units just dancing around doing whatever. And then you have the last little bit is these 2 units, these 2 single crisis suits that are your troops, your mandatory troops.
Yep.
But they have a hilarious gun called an airburst frag launcher, which is an 18-inch range barrage. I know that's weird. It's only 18
That is
range.
very strange for barrage.
But it's strength 4 AP 5, large blast, and ignore cover.
Wow.
And so the funny thing that you can do with these suits is you can just dump them behind like line of sight blocking terrain.
Yeah, I just have them just shooting little bombs
just,
out the
like,
top.
lobbing grenades over the wall, essentially.
pretty funny.
And it's ignore cover, so then like you put them against blob squads and like say the zombies you were fighting, and you're just like boom, 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 boom.
Bye-bye zombies.
So yeah, so that's like this army is not only really mobile, it's very hard to kill at range.
Yeah.
Everything has jump, shoot, jump. So it's just like they're
Ooh,
getting
yeah,
away
that's
from
right.
you real quick.
They are a bit like warp spiders. You're right.
Yeah, the difference between them and warp spiders, they have a little bit more survivability. Mm-hmm. They're a little less effective. They have slightly more firepower, but they have worse stats, and then they have less mobility but longer range. So they're like
Very
a weird interim.
balancing act they're doing. Yeah, wow. I'd love to see an army of just stealth suits. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, like I would say this: if you were playing against a Tau army and they didn't have a lot of like, say, low AP ignore cover, because I mean, smart missile systems, who gives a shit? They still have 3+ saves. So it's just like,
which is nice. I can tell you from playing Eldar and having those aspect warriors having the 3-ups is nice.
Oh, super nice. I mean, especially especially since most of the ignore cover stuff is high AP, so it's not going to punch through your armor. You're getting it anyway. So it's like you have a choice: 3-up saves or 2-up saves. Like they're getting one of them.
Not bad.
So yeah, that's basically how the army runs. It's just,
I love it.
Oh,
Just so many ninja predators pretty much everywhere.
I forgot to add one little bit of icing on the cake.
Ooh.
So all of the stealth suits have infiltrate.
Oh, so you can basically just throw those right in people's faces.
Here's where it goes a step further. Because they have infiltrate, it also means they have outflank. One of the units in the optimized stealth cadres, in each optimized stealth cadre, has a homing beacon, of course.
Right.
So I have 2 of those. If you want to deep strike most of your army, you can just be like, they're all there.
Right.
They also have this little cool piece of technology called a positional relay. Now, what that is if the positional relay is within 6 inches of a board edge from something with outflank,
so it affects the outflank.
they automatically come there. And since they all have infiltrate, that means that you can just
can always
choose
put one near the
there.
boards.
So essentially, this army is, as long as those units are alive, your things from reserve appear literally surgically wherever you want them to be.
That's really cool, which works really well with the fluff of being these strategic masters, essentially.
Of these things, yeah. These things essentially plying the lines like a knife, and just like a surgical knife, a scalpel.
We need a scalpel right here. We need one right here. That's awesome.
So,
I
yeah.
really like that war gear. That's really cool.
I was looking at this list and I was like, against things even like scat bikes, like this is a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because 2-up cover saves is great.
2-up cover saves anywhere, but their stealth suits are also small, so they're easy to hide.
Oh, yeah.
And then like you start doing that where you can jump, shoot, jump and everything, and it's just like trying to lock down this army is a pain
Becomes
in the butt.
really annoying. Man, somebody out there, please make this army, please. Or send us pictures of your stealth suits, because we love them,
Yes.
obviously.
They're so great.
Oh, God. Man, well, that was a great army you put together.
I can't wait.
Somebody, please do it. Make that army happen. All right, guys. Well, that was episode 23 of Roll to Seize. We'll be posting a new episode every month and more frequently starting in July. And if you'd like to hear more episodes or download other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. You can email us any questions at rolltoseize@gmail.com or chat with us on dakadaka.com and help decide the next Brown Library segment. Search fluffy/underrated units in the 40K general discussion forums. Of course, you can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram for tournament and model picks at partialarc. Thanks for listening, and your fun fact for this month is...
Ironically, looking at Tau, they actually have like good things in the Grimdark.
Wait, what?
Like, they never really explain what the greater good is. They're just like, for the greater good.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that's about it.
And it's just like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean like universal conquest? Does that mean
Peace, maybe?
we must be under you? Well, if you're good enough, you get these kick-ass battle suits. It's just like, well, shit.
They should have put that in the initial memo, I think. I think a lot of people would have joined up with them.
Brochure, man. They need brochures.
Guys, invest in your marketing.